Hello Virgo, and welcome to my channel, Tarot by Gabrielle. This is going to be a general reading for Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus placements, looking at your connection between you and the person that you are dealing with and are needing to learn the most from right now. We'll be pulling for all three sides of the connection, so we're going to look at your energy, their energy, and the energy in between it. The concept being that there are three sides to every story. So we're looking at your version of the truth, their version of the truth, and this higher level unbiased truth in the middle. This middle section is looking at what is the deeper purpose of this connection and the best way for you to move forward in order to align further with your higher self. Friendly reminder that these are general readings and they are not here to resonate fully for everyone, and they won't resonate fully for everyone. So do please remember to take what does resonate and helps your personal situation and to leave what does not. On that note, and especially if you're a cross watcher, just know that this whole reading can be reversed. If that is the case for you, that is totally fine and totally normal. Again, the point is to take what helps and leave what doesn't. Last thing is that any information on the extended reading or on booking a personal reading or coaching session with me is in the description box below. All right, Virgo, let's jump on into this. We're going to start with looking at overall energy through oracle cards first, and then we'll dive deeper into the story with tarot as we progress. But let's look here at your side of this connection. Virgo's side of the connection to the person they are dealing with. Okay. So this connection is in separation. I don't really know why, but you have separation. Then you have fate. Wild card. Okay. When you met this person, I feel like it felt like fate. I feel like that you and this person connected pretty immediately, probably pretty strongly. And I feel like you saw things being... a lot different than I feel like how they turned out. With this wild card energy, I feel like, things maybe happened out of the blue, like the separation happened out of the blue, or it happened in a way that was very unexpected. And I feel like you're having a hard time making sense of like what went down, especially because I feel like it felt like fate at one point, which makes a lot of sense why you'd be like, what the hell happened? So the goal with this reading is to try to bring some clarity forth. Let's look at this person's energy toward you, Virgo. Drama. Triggered. Manipulation. Oh my goodness. All right. I feel like this person became someone very different when they were triggered. I feel like they kind of had two sides to them. It's kind of giving Gemini energy, but I'm not saying it's Gemini energy, but kind of like, and I'm not saying all Geminis are like this either, but that kind of like twins where it's like one day they're one person, the next they're another. I feel like this person was someone sometimes, but then a completely different person whenever they became triggered. Someone very cold, someone very, withdrawn. And I feel like that was very confusing for you, as it would be for anybody, because I feel like the potential that you saw in them was still very much there. But then there were these times, or like a specific time, where things really switched. And it feels like things became a little bit unhealthy. Truth of this connection between Virgo and this person. And maybe that's what felt sudden. It's like the switch was always sudden. Like it was easy to kind of get them into this triggered place. Shattered. Oh my goodness. Virgo, this has been a very painful experience. I feel like you had a certain expectation, image of them, image of this connection that was, it was like it shattered. And then you have know your worth here. I feel like it's hard for you to know your worth, because especially when sometimes they are that like person that you want them to be. It's like, well, I want that. That's what I'm worthy of. That's what I'm deserving of. But then when they switch, it's like, this is not what I'm worthy of. This is not what I'm deserving of. And that's really challenging and difficult to navigate for sure. So let's keep going. Truth of this connection between Virgo and this person. Underlying motives. You don't love me. I feel like it's like they go from someone who makes you feel good to someone who makes you're like, you don't even care about me. But with this underlying motives card, it kind of feels like there's a deeper reason for that. Like it's not overstep boundaries inevitable. You and this person were definitely supposed to meet. This connection was inevitable. Or the fallout was inevitable. The separation was inevitable. That's interesting. And I feel like there's a reason for it. I don't know what's going on here. Your boundaries were obviously overstepped. And I feel like in a pretty big way, too. All right, Virgo. Let's look at your side of this connection, separation with fate. Virgo's side of the connection to the person they are dealing with. The World in reverse. The Chariot. Queen of Wands could be dealing with a fire sign. Leo, Aries, Sagittarius. You don't have to be, though, because, I mean, this is air sign energy. King of Swords in reverse. Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. Knight of Cups in reverse. And the King of Wands. More fire sign energy. What is that Queen of Wands and King of Wands talking about? I feel like there's a lot of anger here. And that anger is justified. You know, you're allowed to be angry, but I feel like there's something more to the story. So there's obviously some sort of cycle that you and this person have been in. A cycle where you make a lot of progress and you take a lot of steps back. And I feel like that continues to, it's like you want to get to that point that you felt like you could get to, right? So you're holding on to that progress, but then there's a lot of times where you're kind of expected to be putting up with a lot, especially with the Knight of Cups in reverse, because this is a very triggered energy. It's a very emotional energy. The King of Swords in reverse can be this energy of not being treated so well. And I feel like a coldness, like it's like you have to put up with this coldness or this feeling like they don't care. That's where I feel like you have the you don't love me card. It's like you have this feeling where they just don't care about you at all. But then there's times where you make a lot of progress and they feel very, it's like from the King of Wands to the King, like very warm, very compassionate, to the King of Swords in reverse, very cold, very withdrawn. Back to the King of Wands, very warm, very passionate. King of Swords in reverse, very cold, very withdrawn. And I feel like you've kind of just been along for the ride. It's like it's like, who's this person going to be today? I don't really know what to expect. That's the wild card energy. It's like you never really know what you're going to get from them. There's such an inconsistent pattern of behavior. And I feel like there's almost this energy of like walking on eggshells. I don't want to set them off. I don't want to do something to make them unhappy or make them angry or make them whatever. So then I feel like you're trying to be whatever you feel you need to be, or at least when this connection was in place, like trying to do whatever you felt you needed to be to make sure that you were keeping this person happy. Keeping them happy, keeping them like in a good place. But I feel like inside, like you were sacrificing a lot of what you needed. It's like you'd see progress, but then it's like no matter what, I feel like there would be this switch. Like no matter what you did, no matter what happened, like there would always be the switch. Things would always change. So I don't know. Well, I feel like that's just kind of setting up the story. And I feel like it's hard again because it felt like fate. It was like me and this person were supposed to meet. This is so wonderful and magnetic and passionate and exciting, to just being like, what the heck? Why did you change so much? Why did you withdraw? Why do you not care? I want to take these two. It literally feels like this person has like two different personalities. All right, let's get, because that's a lot for anyone to put up with. I mean, I feel like you're very caring and compassionate and loving, but let's just see. This person's energy toward you, Virgo. Triggered with drama. Okay, so there is love here. Ace of Swords in reverse, Two of Cups. There is love here. This person does have love for you. What is going on? Queen of Swords in reverse. Two of Pentacles. Ten of Swords. Seven of Swords. So they carry a lot from their past. I mean, seeing the Six of Cups with the Ten of Swords falling right underneath it, and then Seven of Swords, like, it's almost like they're hiding a lot. Like they've been through a lot. They've had a lot of things, like a lot of trauma, a lot of, I don't know, not so good things that they're holding on to. And I feel like maybe especially around relationships, around love, and I feel like they have this tendency, especially with the Queen of Swords in reverse and the Ace of Swords in reverse, to really shut their heart off. And it's hard because they do have a lot of love here. They do care greatly about you and about this connection. Like, I really do feel like that. But then I feel like they get very easily triggered, or they're very reactive to their triggers. You know, Like if somebody's been through abandonment or betrayal or who knows what, right? Like that loss lives within them. And if it's unhealed, if they have this unhealed wounding, they're going to expect, this wounding to repeat. So essentially, they're always going to be on guard, always waiting for history to repeat itself. And I feel like in this connection, it's like maybe there were trust issues, or I don't know, it's like trying to, the switch that would flip would be them trying to protect themselves, them withdrawing their energy, not to like punish you or anything like that, but more so to try to protect themselves from getting hurt. Now, that's not an excuse, okay? Understanding why somebody does the things that they do is important because it helps us understand that it doesn't have anything to do with us. But I feel like what's interesting here, and I think that what's important for you to know, is there's mirrored wounding here. And it feels like this person acts from a place of wounding, which triggers your wounding. And then it just becomes this back and forth thing. Then you trigger theirs, and then they trigger yours. And that mirrored energy is it's like a recipe for disaster, because especially when, we're dealing with somebody who isn't doing the healing or aware of how their wounds make decisions for them, or how to regulate their emotional responses when they're feeling triggered. They're just gonna act. They're just gonna, right? So it's like, oh, I perceive this as a threat, so I'm gonna treat this like a threat, even though they might be misreading behavior, especially if there's like a lack of communication. I feel like this person they come up with a lot of reasons to push you away. And they do that because they're trying to protect themselves. But that's emotional unavailability at its finest. That's somebody who craves and desires love but has absolutely no idea how to open themselves up to it, to receive it, which keeps them stuck and shutting their heart off. So it's like they crave this love, but they're completely closed off to it. At least, and that's why I feel like things switch, or like a flip switch out of the blue. Is like this connection was going strong, things were, passionate and exciting, and there was a lot, but then as things got deeper, as things got more serious, as it got more real, that's when this person started to get triggered. Because they're like, oh, the further that I fall in this relationship, the more that I feel for this person, the deeper this gets, the more serious this gets, the more likely I am to hurt, and the stronger it's going to hurt, right? It's like, I'd rather just, sabotage this connection and, push it away so that doesn't happen, than open myself. Because that's what healthy relationships require, both people to be open up to the potential of getting hurt. Like, that is just a requirement in a relationship. But if somebody is unable to trust or unable to be vulnerable because they're so shut down because of their past, there's nothing you can do to fix that. And I think that that's why there's a need to look at this a little bit differently. This person didn't do the things that they did to harm you. It's not an excuse, okay? But they did the things that they did to protect themselves. But our protection mechanisms when we're dealing with unhealed wounds aren't always healthy. Because instead of processing the emotions and working through the issues, they respond with control. And I think that that's why you're needing to understand that the things that this person didn't have anything to do with you. They didn't push you away or self-sabotage or almost like combust. It feels like a combustion. It's like they exploded. They didn't do these things. They don't do these things, especially if this is ongoing or if there's something that repeats, to hurt you specifically or to harm you or because of you even. It's not that you do anything. It's because they're dealing with their own stuff and they're taking it out on you. This is something I had to learn in a lot of my relationships. I didn't do a lot of healing for a really long time, and I had a lot of really tough stuff pretty early in my life. And when I started getting into relationships, I put it on the other person. It was always the other person's problem. I didn't realize I was doing this, obviously, but I it wasn't until I became aware of my traumas and my triggers through therapy and growth and healing where I learned not to allow them to control me. And when I learned not to allow them to control me, I was able to sustain a healthy relationship because my unhealthy patterns were no longer at the wheel. But that requires a willingness to heal, a willingness to grow, a willingness to take accountability. And from what I can tell, it feels like this person is so closed off from that part of themselves. It's like they're so disconnected from themselves. So you're craving this connection, right, with them, but people can only connect to you to the depth in which they've connected to themselves. People connected to themselves. People can only love you to the extent they love themselves, care for you, be there for you to the extent that they are for themselves. And this person has abandoned themselves. They're very, I have a lot of empathy for this kind of person because I used to be this kind of person. I used to be someone who, I was a toxic person. I'll be the first to tell you, I was a toxic person. And I attracted a lot of pain into my life because of that, because of how I acted and how I self-sabotaged. And, I hated myself for a really long time until I started to understand why I did the things that I did, which is what healing is all about, right? It's not about just becoming better, but also understanding and letting the worst version of yourself be loved. And I feel like, I have a lot of empathy for them, like I said, because I used to be them, but I also know that the only reason that I changed, the only reason that I grew and that I healed was because people stopped putting up with my BS, because people stopped allowing themselves to be the punching bag of my trauma. And I feel like that's where we have to separate unconditional love with unconditional tolerance. Because I feel like you have a lot of love for this person. I feel like that's why you're so angry too, is because it feels like they promised you the world and then took it away, right? There was so much potential and so much promise here. I feel like they had every intention of making that happen, but they're not doing the work to do so. I talk about this a lot in my readings. I use this example a lot, but it's kind of the equivalent of somebody who has this dream of like running a marathon. But this person does no training. They don't do any training. They don't do the work. They don't work out at all. They don't work on their body. They just get off the couch one day and try to run a marathon. They're going to fail. They're not going to make it to the finish line. They're going to get hurt, injured, something along the way. It's the same kind of thing with healthy relationships. We can crave them all day long. We can want one. But if we don't do the work to learn how to be in one, how to both be a good partner and to understand what it's like to be with a good partner, then we're not going to be able to sustain it. And that takes a lot of inner work that I feel like this person just isn't doing. So with that being said, if we're looking at this from a bigger picture perspective, it's to separate the experience of what happened from they did this to me. Because when we think, oh, this person does these things to me or did these things to me or whatever, we take it very personally, right? We look at it as a reflection of our value or our worth, and we try to search and for the answers as to why they hurt us and why they did these things. It's kind of the equivalent of like when a snake bites you, instead of going to the ER and trying to get rid of that poison, instead you chase down that snake and you go, why'd you bite me? Why'd you do that to me? When in reality, that snake's just in survival mode. And I feel like that's kind of the same thing, is this person's just very much in survival mode. And they are hurting other people because of that, because hurt people hurt people. It's just how it goes. But you know what else? Healed people heal people. So it doesn't mean that you carry the ability to heal them. But when we start to heal ourselves, we are then a magnet for other healed people. And usually these types of connections reflect back at us the wounding, and I said that there's a mirrored wounding that needs to be healed, that needs to be addressed. People either reflect our wounding or they reflect our healing. And we usually meet the people that reflect our wounding. We meet the people who reflect our wounding first so that we heal, and then we attract the people that reflect our healing. And that's when we learn to love ourselves in the way that we're looking to be loved. But the people who don't love us well teach us how to love ourselves in the way that we're looking to be loved. And those are typically some of the most painful experiences in our life. So I feel like there's a need to change the way that you're looking at this. This person didn't hurt you intentionally. They hurt themselves. And you, unfortunately, were a casualty in that. And again, it's not an excuse. You know, I used my trauma as an excuse for a really long time. Well, I've been through a lot, and that's why I do these things. Awareness, self-awareness is incomplete if there's not actually any kind of changed behavior. And I think that that's where we have to understand that, you know, people change whenever they realize that they need to, when staying the same is more painful than change. But it takes a lot for people to face their wounds and to face their traumas and to face their insecurities and to face those parts of themselves, because it's not fun. It's not fun to face the ways that you hurt other people because of how you've been hurt. It's not fun to look at your unhealthy habits and patterns and behaviors and to take accountability for the role that you play in your own suffering. It is not a good time. Nobody has fun doing it. But it's always worth it in the end, because then you set yourself free from those. And I think that so much of the time we tend to get into connections with people that we look at, we try to fix them, right? We try to heal them. We try to see what it is that we can do to help them be better. But we don't realize is all along they're reflecting something within us that needs to be healed. And I feel like in this connection, that's one of the biggest things that's happening. That's why the cycle keeps repeating. You're looking for the healing and the change of behavior of this person, or maybe people of the like. So with that being said, we're going to hop on over to the extended. We're going to look at the deeper purpose of this, which you have shattered and know your worth. So a deeper purpose and the best way for you to move forward in alignment with your higher self. Thank you so much, Virgo, as always, for your support of my channel. I do obviously hope that this reading helped and resonated with you in a way that you were needing today. And as always, I wish you nothing but love and healing and all of the wonderful things that you deserve and desire on your journey moving forward. All right, bye, Virgo.